The Lucia number 3 light is often described as a portal of light or a bridge into expanded states of consciousness. But how does this happen behind closed eyes? To understand more, we'll delve into the science of photic driving, the beautiful mysteries of hypnagogia, and the art and science of the way that the light interacts holistically with mind, body, spirit, and the deepest layers of our consciousness. When rhythmic light pulses at specific frequencies, the brain doesn't just observe, it begins to respond. In fact, the frequencies of light that are being sent out begin to become matched by the corresponding brain waves. Neurons in the visual cortex synchronize with this external rhythm, a measurable phenomenon known as SSVEP, or steady state visual evoked potential. Another term for this is photic driving. So let's speak to some examples. Within Lucia light sessions, there may be different frequencies. For example, there may be flashes between 8 and 12 hertz, which are associated with the alpha brainwave. When these steady flashes between 8 and 12 hertz are happening and your eyes are closed, the response within your system is to actually start to increase the alpha brainwave. However, the Lucia number 3 doesn't stop there. The goal is not to simply put you into the alpha state, which is an oversimplified concept, as actually there's multiple brainwaves happening in different regions of your brain all the time. It's more about helping your brainwaves harmonize with each other and create coherence. The neurologist who invented the Lucia number 3 light, Dr. Dirk Proeckl, researched a lot into different ways that light responded to EEGs. Ultimately, what he found was that in a very deep light session, the brainwaves of the individual would actually start to create harmonics between each other, which is to find this beautiful sense of coherence. The visual response of the person was beautiful moment of connection, of deep calm, of presence, of still point. So while there are different frequencies in different Lucia light sessions, usually they have multiple in one session and can't be specifically created to make a specific outcome. So oftentimes when we do these types of experiences, we may have an idea in our mind of like, oh yeah, I want to get creative. I want something from this experience. But the way that the Lucia number 3 light works, as created by doctors in Austria who've really studied the brain in a much deeper way than simply brainwave entrainment, the intention is actually to work with multiple brainwaves to come to a state of inner calm and centeredness, which is, of course, where creativity reigns, of course, where calmness and centeredness lives, of course, where connection with spirit is alive. Many people are surprised to learn that the Lucia number 3 light only has white light. So, yes, in the center of the Lucia is a patented halogen bulb, which has a wide spectrum of light from infrared all the way up to ultraviolet, although certain spectrums that may be damaging, UVA or UVB, are actually blocked by a little piece of glass in front of the light. However, this wide spectrum of warmth is actually very similar to the sun. When the halogen is at lower levels of brightness, it, like the sun, contains larger levels of infrared. That's why it's so relaxing to watch the sunrise or sunset, because there's a larger, wider spectrum of infrared light. The Lucia number 3 also has white LEDs, and these white LEDs provide a different spectrum of light. LEDs have very short spikes of light, which is why it's really wonderful to have the combination of the halogen and LEDs. However, even within these short spikes, many different colors can be found. So when people ask, what do these colors mean? A bigger question is to ask yourself, what do they mean for you? For some people, when they see blue, they can feel so much deep relaxation and comfort. For others, the blue may be piercing or intense. For others, the rainbow fractals may remind them of the beauty and possibility of life. While again, for others, the tiny lace-like little intricate white lines can represent the fine details of life. Each person's experience with the Lucia number 3 is as unique as them. And while we don't know exactly why we see all these beautiful colors and patterns behind our closed eyes, we do know that the experience is unique and meaningful. Another way to understand the Lucia light experience is through the concept of hypnagogia, the dreamy space between wakefulness and sleep. At this threshold, the rational mind begins to lose its grip. The subconscious begins to open, and imagery, memory, and imagination flow freely. Artists, inventors, and mystics have sought this state for centuries. For example, Salvador Dali famously loved hovering at the edge of sleep to capture surreal visions. Thomas Edison used this state to heighten his creative and imaginative ideas. He would hold a spoon in his hand as he tried to consciously fall asleep while sitting up. And the second the spoon dropped and clanged on the floor, it would wake him up. And this would wake him up right in the hypnagogic state, so he could remember what was happening when the rational mind let go and the subconscious started to enter. Often, if he was working on an invention, he would have incredible insights and breakthroughs in this moment. Every night as you fall asleep, you do pass through this phase of hypnagogia. However, due to stress, anxiety, intensity of daily life, we often don't get to revel in this state. People are usually so tired they just fall straight into a deep sleep, or so anxious that they hang out in liminal realms that are less friendly than hypnagogia. The Lucia number 3 allows your nervous system to slowly and gently unwind. The photic driving or entrainment, as we spoke of before, allows the brain waves to start shifting into dreamier, more open states, more aligned with coherence and harmonics, while the steady, light, and relaxing music starts really allowing everything to melt away. By pulling and drawing out this stage of relaxation, the whole nervous system is offered a reset, and the creativity and inspiration that can be bypassed by stress comes alive. Another important way to understand how the Lucia number 3 interacts with the mind, body, spirit is through the lens of the nervous system. Unlike some therapies that simply take you deep into relaxation, the Lucia number 3 light sessions are like an arc. There's an initial stimulus, which actually gets your attention, heightens your senses, and may even make your heart beat a little faster. This initial stimulation brings a sympathetic nervous system activation. Now, this is important because, again, within this arc, the Lucia light is helping repattern your nervous system. So while there's this initial intensity, it doesn't last long because the stable flickering of the light is distributed through your thalamocortical networks and across the brain, telling your mind, body, spirit, everything's okay. We can relax. Within about 10 minutes of the light session, the body starts really deeply letting go, with muscles softening and your breath gently deepening and feeling really safe to let go of any charges that you're holding consciously or unconsciously. This arc of mild arousal followed by deep unwinding shows the nervous system that's okay. we all get activated, right? Things happen that are out of our control or surprising or intense. When we're trying to work with supporting the nervous system, we're not actually trying to always be in relaxation. We're inspiring the nervous system to create greater flexibility so that if something intense happens, we can be with that intensity in case we need to be, right? There's a reason why we get activated. And we can also shift from that space into deep relaxation without getting stuck in that intensity. And that's where the Lucia light really shines. It not only deeply relaxes you, but it takes you on that journey of activation and reminds your body how to let go of that charge with the presence of wonder and joy from the beautiful visual experience that's happening. And many other insights usually come along the way. So, how does the Lucia number 3 work? On one level, it's neuroscience, entrainment and photic driving, access to hypnagogic states, harmonization of brain rhythms, and nervous system regulation and recalibration. On another level, it's a mystery. Science can measure brain waves, but it cannot describe why exactly we see these incredible visual phenomenon, that we feel awe, wonder, and a sense of interconnectedness. Science can't actually fully describe why each person's experience is so unique and why this beautiful state of openness and creativity and inspiration lingers far after a light session.